Here we are for another Fit Tip Friday. And there's Tim.
Hey there.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good today.
Awesome. So I see you working on your system there, but as I like to do on Fridays, I want to pick your brain a little bit, because I get another question often when people are looking at shoes or thinking about it. They say, "Hey, how do I know if my cleats are in the right spot?"
That's a very good question, as many of yours are. So what we generally do is we measure the feet for starters. So I'm just going to walk over and grab a foot measuring device. There are many important parts of this, but what I'm most concerned with is not really where the toes are ending up here, but where the first metatarsal head is. So the big toe bump, we'll call it, on your foot, where you'd reach in and feel your big toe on your foot. And then we're going to see about width. And then we take that information, we have our client put their shoe on. That's where that first metatarsal head, or big toe bump as we would call it, and then we have the fifth metatarsal head. So sometimes we draw on shoes. Eventually we end up putting markers on there because we want to look at objective data about what's happening. The cleat goes on the bottom of the shoe regardless of what style, and we want to start somewhere neutral, which means if we drew a line from first to fifth, somewhere where that line is under the foot. So that would be a neutral position between those 2 points. After that, we want someone to start riding. We're going to look at the behavioral pattern of that individual. We're going to see if their foot angle looks steep, if it looks relaxed, if they're doing wonky stuff. Oftentimes we use the feet to help correct other issues. More times than not, I prefer to go a little more rearward with that cleat, because most individuals don't push off of, if my hand was a foot, up here near the toes. They push from further back. And we can look at objective data about the angle of how they're pushing, as well as the power output via CompuTrainer, and we can see these things change when we make adjustments. So we want to start somewhere close to neutral, Brendan and fans, and then we want to move from there. We want to move rearward with the purpose of getting better output, more stability for the foot, more stability for the rider. Looking at the deeper end of things, we want the feet to be a stable platform. Come on over and look at this. So I like to look at wavelength data. We've got 2 colors here. We've got a red and a blue, and they both have a little bit of a double bump to them. There's one, there's the second, there's one, there's the second. We see it on red and blue. So this client is using their feet to adapt for their legs, and we make small refinements with the cleat position so it's in the best place for the feet and the legs and the rest of the body. And we verify that through watching mins and maxes and then averages at different intensities or load while someone is riding. So simply put, we start from neutral, and then we generally adapt from there and go rearward with it. If we get to a place that's too rearward and it's not working for our client, we will see a couple things happen. We will see the foot angle get steep, as I mentioned earlier, and that client may feel like they've got much greater weight between the legs on their softer area, because we've effectively shortened their leg by moving their cleat without doing much for the saddle height to adapt for that. So there's lots of points to it, but start neutral, probably go back from there and quantify what you're doing through objective data and also subjective information from our cyclist.
Wow, that sounds like a much better solution than I had a guy bring in his shoe, he said, "Well, I bought these at another shop, and they just said, well, push the cleat all the way forward and you'll be fine.
Or push it all the way back.
Or push it all the way back." And he said, "My feet are on fire, so I'm trying to fix that." So it sounds like there's a lot going on, and feet are pretty complicated. It's probably a good idea to have someone who knows what they're doing put those cleats on instead of just eyeballing it.
The feet are a big part of the fit.
Awesome. Hey, well, thanks for your time, Tim. I know it's getting busy and we got some clients coming in, but we'll see you next Friday.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, man. Bye.
See you.